We're doing SURA first.
So practicing. Well, email it. Sort of work on the screen.
I have I just need to talk to you for a few minutes after tonight. I got a phone call from somebody and I'm not sure what to do with it. That's the whole thing. Here's the yeah.
Yeah, there's good things about it.
I know how to print. All right.
When I get there, I'll know. I think basically this book is this thick, and it's really like about.
You have a list of who's on what committee? Is there any committees that we can't have because people
I don't
missing?
think so.
City development planning? Lisa's not here.
Public safety is the only one, I think.
Do you want to move those to something else?
I'm gonna I'll just hold it till she gets here.
Oh, okay. But city development planning, who's on that?
That's Lisa and Marion and me, so
Oh, okay.
we'll have two of us there. I never printed out the agenda for SURA, so. I'll just look on your.
Oh, this Gary. Gary, do you have a copy of the SURA agenda?
Copy of the agenda.
Yes.
Do you want me to go make it?
I don't have one. Yes.
I get two more copies.
We need another one.
I didn't bring them.
You just need to, okay. Chuck's
Thank you. Wait a minute, I printed it out.
two copies.
Didn't have it back. I think I printed it myself. No, oh, I didn't.
Oh, did that?
I printed the copy.
You want me to-
My bad. Yes, I did. I printed it myself. Unless something's changed.
Here, you want a copy of the minutes? You want to read the minutes?
Is that the...
Sorry, I only brought one copy this time.
Yeah, I thought about printing it out, and then I thought, oh no, Steve always brings them.
And I was like, everybody's already got their
You're right.
copies. We'll find a couple more copies.
Oh, that's my copy.
Chuck's making two more.
Oh, Chuck's making one.
Chuck's making two.
Okay. You know why I asked? Who's going to move to accept the minutes if no one's read them?
Yeah. I'm always like, these get emailed too. If you guys print them up, do I print up a whole other 7 copies of everything, or you guys need your little pads?
iPads would really be a benefit.
Oh yeah.
Who do you get a grant?
Me.
I'll take one if you got one still.
Maybe Marion? So probably Marion.
Maybe we should get a grant for iPads or something. You're having some, government efficiency.
A call to order the Schenectady Urban Renewal Agency. First item will be the acceptance of the minutes from our September 9th meeting. Entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second. Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. 5 ayes, 3 absent. Only business today is to adopt a resolution transferring property from SURA to the city of Schenectady as outlined in resolution 2013-13. I'd entertain a motion to move that.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Riggi. Entertain a motion to second it.
Second.
Erickson, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes 5 ayes, 3 absent. Any other business to come before the agency? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Erickson, have a second?
Second.
Porterfield, all in favor?
I
Any opposed? Agency stands adjourned.
probably make one correction. I think it's 4 ayes.
No, the mayor's part is.
Oh, that's right, you're right, I'm sorry. You're not thinking.
What do you call for?
Yeah, right.
I count.
4 ayes, I resent that.
Yeah, right.
All right, call to order, speaking of 4 ayes, there we go.
Yeah.
Call to order, Finance Committee. First one up, call for public hearing on 10/15/13, Ms. DeGenova.
So what you have in front of you is a legislative request for consideration for a call for the public hearing for the upcoming 2014 city budget. As required, the budget is anticipated to be delivered on November 1st, and what this does is allows the appropriate number, excuse me, thank you, October 1st, allows for the appropriate number of legislative cycles to go through for the hearing.
Any questions on public hearing? No, who's it?
I'm prepared to move it.
Move. I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're gonna have a public hearing.
Thank you.
Next item up, budget reappropriations, assessor tax receipts. Sounds familiar.
Yes, it does. So I am just here to do some follow-up and provide the additional information that was requested, discussed at previous meetings. So,
Thank you, that amendment you emailed me.
oh, okay, perfect.
Oh, sorry.
John, just John you one.
Do you want one? Thank you.
So what has been passed out to you is the result of, and I think the way it printed out, it came out a little funny, so let me walk you through it. I went and looked at the population of the cities in the state of New York, and then focused in on upstate cities in, that are ranked near to Schenectady by population. So, and then I went to each of those cities' websites and downloaded their 2013 budget to see how they staffed and their assessors department. So basically what you see is Albany is ranked 6th in population of New York State, followed by Schenectady ranked 9th, Niagara Falls, City of Niagara Falls ranked 13th, and Troy ranked 14th. If you look, when I went and pulled out the budgets, it hit me looking at the detail that different municipalities staff their assessors department differently. Some have a commissioner of assessments and a deputy commissioner. Some have an assessor, an assessor's aide. Some staff more data collectors, and it's sort of all across the board. So rather than focusing, as I know we have, and I'm not saying it's inappropriate, but just focusing, rather than just focusing on the assessor's salary, I looked at each department's cost to the city that I just described. And if you look at the overall cost of the assessor's departments in the city of Albany, city of Schenectady, and city of Niagara Falls, and the city of Troy, and you rank them from the most expensive, the highest cost, to the lowest cost, Schenectady is number 3. Number 3 with its proposed budget and its existing budget. So we're not out of alignment with those other cities in our area delivering the same type of service. We actually have less staff than most of these cities that I've mentioned. So I just wanted to give some context, because I know we've been focusing on what does the assessor get paid, and I think it's relevant to look at what does it cost the city to manage its assessment department. So hopefully you'll find that helpful. The other question I believe was asked, I believe came from you. You had mentioned how was our advertisement. I was accurate in what I had said previously. We did advertise in both the Gazette and the TU. And I think that was all the follow-up. I'd be happy to go over everything again if you'd like, or?
I don't have any questions.
You talked about what it costs to run each of these departments, and you talked about that our staff was less, but do you have specific numbers, like how many in Troy? Because I think that impacts what the overall budget would be for a department.
Well, this is the overall. Each of these, this is the 2013 budget for Troy, results for Albany, for Schenectady.
I understand that.
And it's what they have budgeted to deliver.
Okay, so what I'm asking specifically is, how many people are in those departments versus ours? I don't know if you have that information.
I do. Troy, in their budget, has 4. The city of Niagara Falls has 11. And the city of Albany has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 budgeted positions.
And what do we have?
And we have an assessor, a clerical staff, we have a data collector, and 2 other staff.
You're fine.
So do you know if all those budgeted positions are actually filled or just budgeted?
I do not know if they are filled.
Okay.
But an adopted budget is, I mean, each municipalities, as we do, you have to have a balanced budget. So those costs are supported.
Thank you.
Sure.
I guess the only thing I have to say is it's the mayor's call who he hires. He can hire who he wants for the position. My thing is about funding the position. We had a previous assessor at 73,000 and change. Troy has an assessor at that. Utica's assessor makes $52,000 a year. And we always use Utica as a comparison to Schenectady because they get more state aid than we do. That's always the city that's always comes up is Utica. Their assessor makes $52,000. I guess I know my concern is raising the salary for that position in Schenectady. It's got nothing to do with who the person is. That's the mayor's call. That's not my call or our call that he hires. But the funding is our call. And for that reason, I can't see spending any more. I think we have to keep looking and maybe make someone in that assessment department an interim assessor in the meantime and keep the search going. It'd be my guess. Or, Mayor, if you can find somebody at $73,000, hire them. That's my take on it.
Again, this overall shift to bring a new assessor in, looking at the opportunity to restructure some of the workflow and just positioning within the building. We're going to take assessment out of the basement, bring it up, and put it in where receipts are now. We've got a lot of space there. The people that deal with the same kind of component of the public are dealing with some of the same issues. And it also helps in this long-term goal where we have better integrated information within the city so that other departments know what each other is doing so that we act more efficiently and cost effectively. I just believe that Ed's background positions him and qualifies him for that position.
And
I'm not questioning the qualifications of Ed. As I said, my thing is what the salary is.
if I could just follow up as a point is that we are looking at not increasing our budget in this year. And if you look at everything is outlined in the requested reallocation, it actually is a decreased budget, a slight decrease of about $6,500 as compared to if we just continued forward into 2014 with the structure we have now as opposed to the structure that we're proposing. And the city had in recent history compensated its assessor at a higher rate. So there is.
The last assessor we did get at a better rate. I guess my thing is our salary structure in the city, in my opinion, it's way too high. And again, in Utica, since I was doing some research on that, their assistant fire chief makes $92,000 a year, and he's been there since 1985, I believe, so he is a new employee. The fire chief makes $101,000. So our whole, again, we always use Utica as a model, you know, maybe we should model ourselves more after that, but once we raise, in my opinion, once we raise the salaries, that stays there, like we're stuck with it forever. How about, you know, finding somebody at the salary that, it isn't that someone wasn't working for us at that salary. I understand that, you know, it's not gonna affect the budget, but we have a budget coming up, you know, in less than a month that we have to deal with, and we have to start thinking about giving the people a tax break in this city, not just have business as usual. And we haven't been dealing with that, quite honestly. This is the end of my second year on the council, and I haven't seen anything happen to give the taxpayers some relief. So just saying to pay people more money, I understand people take on more duties, I understand all of that, but that's the way it is, and that's the way it is in private life too. So that's where I stand on this. I will not agree to pay more than the $73,000.
One of the things that I, you know, kind of think about whenever we're talking about salaries, and it's tough because we kind of forget about it, is the difference between salary and compensation. And whenever you're talking about government, you know, the salary is just a little piece of what the total compensation is. And so you say, well, the salaries are lower than what somebody might make in the private sector, but the total compensation is a lot higher than what somebody would make in the private sector. And so I tend to look at the total compensation in this situation and say, they're making a lot of money. You know, they're getting a lot of benefits. They're getting a decent salary and a lot of benefits, where most people live in the city don't even make anywhere near the benefits, right? So you're doubling the salaries in some cases. And I think a lot of cases from employees, their compensation is twice as much as their salary. So I think when you take it all and you roll it into one, it's a lot of money. And so you know, that's where I struggle as well. You know, understand that we have to pay the market rate, and that dictates what it is. I'm not sure if we've exhausted all our options. I don't know how long we looked, but sometimes it takes a while. You know, I'll help out. I'll start looking, and I'll make some phone calls to find people who might be qualified, and you know, the media's here. Maybe word will get out that we're looking for somebody, and someone might say, hey, I'll throw my hat in the ring. Sometimes it's not you see an ad in the paper and then boom, you're gonna start applying for jobs, and it takes people a while to consider their career changes. So putting word out there, I think, can help us, and maybe we can find someone that'll do it for the current salary.
Okay, it's clear we're going to have to go back to the drawing boards on this one.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thanks, Ted. All right. Move. We adjourn?
All right. Yep. Anything else to come for finance? All good?
Move we adjourn?
And I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
All right, I'm going to call City Development and Planning to order. The first item concerns street signs. Many of you know Beth Petta took on a project about a year ago where we got all new street signs in the stockade, and I guess the council voted to allow people to buy the old signs for $1, but Beth, why don't you come up and talk about this?
I was on the Historic Commission when we adopted this long-term plan of unifying all of our historic districts with street signs that are different in color and design, that also have the name of the district on them, and incorporate the heritage brown color. And so the stockade was the pilot project. These are what they look like if anybody hasn't seen them. The GE plot did their neighborhood. So when the stockade, we were kind of, the pilot project was, let's see if we can do this without asking the city for money. And so the Stockade Association was the 501c3, so we could donations were tax deductible, and we were eligible for things like GE matching grants, which actually bought a few street signs, which was great. And the Union Court, you know, so we were talking, and the GE Plot Neighborhood Association had enough money where they just went ahead and did it and paid for the whole thing. where we got people to give us checks, and part of the way we helped, fundraise was to buy the old signs off of the city for $1 and then raffle them off. And in this case, the corridor doesn't really have a neighborhood association for that area. There's a Triangle Neighborhood Association, but it's kind of weak. There's no money there. And so it's like, how can we get this done? So I talked it up a little bit and talked to some, the DSIC, and they've agreed to be the fiscal agent sponsor organization for this, which is awesome. I mean, Colleen Moraes and Jim Sungo have been awesome, in the whole planning stages of this. There's going to be a website up. You can probably buy them online, which we weren't able to do. It's going to be Adopt a Street like we did before. And I think our biggest chance of getting people to go for the money individually will be things like on Union College campus. I'm an alum there, and the houses, fraternities, sororities, the theme houses, they all try to raise money, do things in the community. And if we said to them, hey, instead of climbing the pole at midnight and stealing a union sign, how about you just buy one and we'll give it to you for free? And so I think that knowing that they'll get a kind of a trophy to take home or put on their wall would be a tremendous help in helping us fundraise on campus specifically. I'm sure there's other people that will want signs, just like in the Stockade, people were, really want Cucumber Alley or Washington Avenue or things like that. So you guys did it before. We bought them for $1, and I'm just wondering, could we do that again, because it would be a real help. And we're in the beginning stages. We'd like to get into full swing within a month and a half, where we're actually, have everything on the website. We're ready to collect funds, or we know all the prices, and collect enough money that we could actually order the signs in the spring and have them up before maybe the end of June. I think it's totally doable, but it would be a tremendous help if you guys would agree to that.
Questions?
The scrap value of the signs is, right? $1.50, and then
It's $1.03, I think.
So you're just asking us to actually, you do the fundraising, us purchase the signs for that minimum amount of money?
No, the DSIC would write you a check for how many signs that we took down and put up new signs.
Okay.
So we're paying
we're
for
going to
the,
sell the signs to you for $1. That's what you're asking.
yeah, will you sell us the old signs for $1 so that we can say to the person, if you want to adopt a university at Union Ave, you can have the old sign.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve that. Okay, I will second that. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Great, I'm really
Thank you very
excited about
much.
this.
Appreciate your
Good luck.
taking
Thanks
the
for
initiative to do this.
Yeah, it was a really fun project for me before, so far it's been fun.
Good.
Thanks,
Good luck with
guys.
everything.
Okay. All right, so next item is to do a resolution recognizing the Spina Bifida Awareness Month. The mayor has asked for this. I'll entertain a motion to approve that. Mayor, did you want to say anything about this, or?
Okay, they put the request in, it's one of the groups where we're going to change the lights on the clock tower at City Hall to coincide with their activities and raising awareness. So I just appreciate the council's consideration of the ceremonial resolution.
Okay, moved by Ms. Porterfield, so I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And a resolution honoring Frank Murkcn products. Ms. Carrazzo asked for this, that they just had a 50-year anniversary of being in the city, and she thinks it would be appropriate that we do a resolution for them. So, okay, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Did you have a question, Mr. Polster?
Where can I get the information?
It's actually in our packet. That's what the mayor did, an official proclamation, so I think we can take from that. All right, Upper Union Street Board appointment for their business improvement district, and they have requested that we appoint Madeline Thorne. You all have a memo to that effect, so, it's right, it's in your packet.
Hold in the back.
Yep,
Who is she?
yeah. She just happens to be acquainted with our city clerk. But they, their comment was, at their last meeting, their first choice was a lovely community activist named Madeline Thorne. So.
We have an arm's length association.
For your own
All the
good.
time?
They're all good.
So, entertain a motion to approve that? Okay, I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Good. Okay, National Flood Insurance Program, rate maps and local legislation. Mr. Mayor.
The information is provided to council. There's a couple letters from DEC outlining we have to adopt the new floodplain maps so that people qualify for the National Flood Insurance Program. And maps were updated after Irene. And this, again, reflects that. Just, we have to proceed procedurally. I'm not sure that there's anything that we can do differently. They pretty much told us what it is. We have to put the local law into place. There are copies of the maps here if people want to look at it.
All right, questions?
The state put the maps, they kind of determined what was a floodplain and what wasn't.
Correct. Well, they're looking at the, really the reference level, they reference the 100-year, and also the 500-year. Sometimes for public buildings, other critical infrastructure, you're really not supposed to build them within the 500-year floodplain. Or if they are, they have to be designed to deal with it.
Does this impact at all on people either being required to get flood insurance or?
In there, I think if we don't do this, the flood insurance rates go from what they are now, and they're going to escalate over time as the federal subsidy's gone, but they go for, I believe it is $25 for $100 worth of coverage.
It's my belief, just getting procedurally, these are referred to in the flood ordinance that we have. And we may have to handle this, I believe we're going to have to handle this as an ordinance, which will require a public hearing.
Okay.
So
So tonight we would just be calling for the public hearing.
right, and then we would put this out and then adopt it.
Okay.
I mean, does this have any impact on the alcohol redevelopment, anything like that? Is that part of this?
They're already building to these maps.
Okay.
They're well aware of the flood issues and are clearly working with those in mind.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a one date here of October the 8th. So I don't know if we can call for a public hearing and have that in by October the 8th.
Oh, we could have the public hearing and then still pass it that evening.
Our meeting isn't until after that.
That's right, because we've
First
got a
meeting in
fifth-
October is
The 15th.
The first night is the 8th.
the first Tuesday, or the Tuesday after Columbus Day.
15th, our next meeting.
All right.
I'll play with it. See what happens.
I mean, is there any way we could call for a public hearing on for our meeting on Monday and then still have it?
Coming cycle.
Don't you think there's enough time?
That's what I
And there's
sure.
a process where we can put a request in. I think we're acting in good faith, but there's not, what I don't believe is there's really much discretion or any discretion at the local level. So they also have a fairly expedited timeline if they're looking at how to implement it.
All right. So if we approve either the call for a public hearing or to put it on the agenda for a vote tonight, and then you'll
I'll
research it and
I'll work it out.
see what we need to do?
Yep.
Okay. Ms. Porterfield, are you comfortable moving that?
So we're putting it on for a public hearing?
We're going to approve either putting it on for a public hearing or putting it on for a vote, depending on the research that Mr. Polster finds out, or both.
Well, we could ask for, we do a public hearing, if we have the public hearing the 7th, right? Is it
The 8th?
the 8th? And then we can vote on it after the public hearing, right?
You could vote on it that night.
Right.
There's no meeting on the 8th.
There's no
No,
meeting.
the 8th is, that's a committee meeting.
It's committee
The
meeting.
7th
But
is
we
a
can-
committee meeting, and the 15th is our next council
Right,
meeting.
can we adjourn,
Recess.
can we just recess and then reconvene? I mean, just, at the end of the day, we have to talk about it, we have to get input from the public, and then we have to vote on it. Can we
Right.
jam all that into one day? I mean, it's not, I don't believe at this point it's a very controversial topic, right?
Right.
We'll find out the public hearing, but,
Yeah.
you know, my gut is telling me that it'll probably be pretty smooth sailing without a lot of
We have a
argument.
meeting on the 7th.
Right.
Committee meeting.
Committee meeting, right?
No.
Committee.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's right, because the 30th is
Yep.
No meeting.
It's Monday.
Dark Monday.
So if we recess tonight and then
Let me see what I can
reconvene on the
do.
7th,
All right.
or no, I'm sorry,
Well,
recess next Monday's council meeting.
Yeah. Right.
There's nothing that says a public hearing has to be held on a council night. A public hearing could be held anywhere in the interim that
That's true.
the advertising allows for.
How much notice do we have to give? I don't remember. Okay.
I would have to check.
Okay.
I think it's 3 days, is what it's
Only
going to
3?
be.
No.
Open meeting is different, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got time for that.
Yeah.
Special meeting, I know, is 3 days.
There's also contingencies if the mayor determines that emergency legislation is
Right.
required. I know that covers local law. I'm not positive about the ordinance.
We'll work it
where
out.
it falls.
All right, so what should we be voting on right now?
That you'll call for either a public hearing or passage of
Okay.
resolution and/or ordinance.
Depending
Okay.
on your research.
Right.
Okay. Moved by Ms. Porterfield, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item is accepting the 7 properties from SURA. Here. Mark this there. I knew it was long. All right. Found it. Yeah, this is the ones we just did in the SURA meeting.
Right.
So I'll entertain a motion to accept the properties.
I do have one question.
Okay, yep.
About 1108 Albany Street.
Yes.
Wasn't that full someone?
That's going to have to be an executive session because it's contract negotiations, I'll be happy to answer that.
All right, so we should still entertain a motion to accept these properties. And
Yes.
then you'll get more information to us.
Right.
Okay. All right, Ms. Porterfield, will you move that? Okay, I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. The accepting properties from Wells Fargo, we're going to do an executive session, 108 Brandywinc in executive session, and Schenectady negotiations in executive session. So I'll entertain a motion to recess this meeting and for executive session. Ms. Porterfield, I will second that. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Okay, call to order, oops, that's not me, that's Lisa. Someone else.
Lisa. Who else is?
Yep, Lisa, Denise, and Carl, let's
Let's
hold off on that one until Mrs. Brucker gets here. Let's go on to Health and Rec.
But you don't have, okay. All right, call to order Health and Recreation. Dog Park Committee.
So the city was moving forward to work along with a committee that had been convened, put together by others outside of the city to assist in the renovation of an area of Central Park for a dog park. we were prepared to open up a trust and agency account and help with the accounting for the funds that they were raising and the marketing and changes that they want to make to the park. Most recently, it appears there's been a bit of a disruption to the cohesiveness of the committee. So I think we wanted to just have a discussion as to where the city council may want to go.
Well, there seems to be some reorganization going on within the committee. So at this point, it's not really structured, and there's no person who's heading it. The person who actually came to us requesting all this has resigned, and another key person also has resigned. So the committee structure really is not in place where we could move forward this time. So I suggest we just hold off on this legislation and see what they come back with. Anything else from the other members of the Town and Rec?
I think it's a good idea. Wait and see if they can come together for this.
So based on that, I just want to let everyone know that the previous chair of this committee did deliver to the city a check from an individual that was raised as part of fundraising. I would suggest and that the city return this to that individual, and unless you feel that there is a structure in the committee, that it should go back to the committee. So I sort of look for...
Based on the emails that I've received, there is no structure. They would have to restructure. So there's really nothing in place right now. I don't see how they could actually accept.
Well, it's already been accepted, right?
The check is in our safe. It has not been deposited because we did not open up the account. It's made out to the city of Schenectady Dog Park, and
I think the best thing to do is your suggestion to return it.
I'll just return it to the individual who wrote the check.
I'll ask a question. I mean, is there, you've talked to some of the individuals that are still involved, is there an effort to reformulate and, 60 days down the road, they're still going to do it? Or is it say, no one's interested anymore?
I haven't had a definitive answer on that. I just know that two people specifically said, I'm no longer involved, and they were two of the key people that came initially.
Right.
And so I've heard no further correspondence on how they're going to restructure at this point.
My thought, and I'll go along with whatever the group wants here, but somebody worked hard to raise some money and they got some donations to fix up the dog park, which I think would benefit a group of people in the city. If we wait 60, 90 days, unless the person is requesting a check back, of course, then I think we give it back. But if there's no request to get the money returned, if we can hold on to it for a period of time until the organization comes back together and now they've kind of pick up where they left off. Is there a downside to that?
Well,
Where does the check become stale now that
90
we cleared it?
Yes, I think normally it's usually 90 days. There's nothing specific here. I guess
it's a personal check, though, right? Or is it a...
Still 90. It's still about 90 days. Well,
what if that individual donated that check because you're the chair?
Right.
I like you. I'm giving you the check. That chair is not there anymore.
Right.
I think that
But
whenever they reorganize, they can go to that person, ask them if they want to redonate the money.
Yeah. Does the person, I guess, the person who wrote the check, they want their money back? Are they saying, I don't care who's the chair?
I don't know if they
I want
know
a
what's
dog park."
going on.
they may not know unless they're...
They may not be aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
It just...
I was going to say, I agree, I think it's cleaner to give
Just
back
give
the
back.
check, and then if
Right.
once the group, if they reorganize and move forward, they can always reach out to these individuals.
and if am I correct in the person one of the people that resigned was also the person that delivered the check to us?
Yes.
Okay, so, yeah, I think that we should not.
Oh, it's her check.
No,
It's not her check.
Oh.
She is the person that resigned, but delivered the check to us, in spite of stepping out of the process.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
We're comfortable with that?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
returned.
thank you.
and then we can ask again if that comes up. Okay, ceremonial resolution for working with girls. This was on before, and it's going to happen actually on October 15th, which will be the first meeting, the first council meeting after the International Day of the Girl, which was their request, which is going to happen on October 11th. So that's when this resolution will, okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, anything else to come before Health and Recreation?
Move adjourned.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Mr. Erickson, I'm going to suggest maybe we convene government operations. That's just going to be a discussion item. It's not something that's going to require votes and talking about the parking meter rates, so.
All right, want me to...
Yeah.
Call to order government operations. Item up, parking meter rates. Murkcn.
Back on July 1st, this was on the agenda, and we adjourned it we put it off for a couple of weeks, and then we didn't get back on until now. And at that time, the legislation said that specifically, and I believe it's 248.63.2 in the city code, that we had changed it that the mayor or his designee was authorized to determine the duration time and fees for the operation of meters or kiosks. At that time, as Mr. Erickson, as I recall, we thought we wanted to talk more about determining a upper rate,
Cap.
a cap on how much the rate could be, and then taking it from there. So that's where I'll discuss that again.
Okay.
So you had some concerns about setting a cap.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, trying to think back to, it seems like forever ago when we were dealing with this. So, instead of setting, I think the council's job, one of the things that we're supposed to be doing here is setting the rates and fees and all that kind of stuff for a lot of things. And so giving up that responsibility may not be a good idea, long-term for just good operation of our government, right? So, but we also want to be efficient and somewhat convenient. And so instead of micromanaging the issue, the concept of setting a cap, letting the mayor manage, this street versus that street from a kind of a micro perspective, but we set the overall cap, I think would kind of keep somewhat of a balance, so they were more of a compromise in that regard. So it was an idea that was thrown out there, but to be bounced around. There's probably pluses and minuses to that idea. Wanted to hear what other people were thinking.
Have we, I guess it would be to Mayor, have we discussed what the fees would be, or if they would change, they would go up?
Well, we're not looking to change them with the mechanical meters that are in place, but as we put the pay stations in place, those allow a lot of flexibility. So the procedural problem was not to go back to the city council, call for a public hearing when you wanted to change a couple of spots, raise it 25 cents or lower it 25 cents. And I also see the potential for what I will call is flat rate event parking, where we're doing more activities downtown. They charge in the lots around Proctor's and other places, but our on-street parking at night now is free. So if we posted that, do we want to charge $1 for that? Do we want to charge $5 for it? It's how do you incorporate that in overall utilization of downtown? We want something that's fair, it's cost effective, but it has to be flexible. Because the old mechanical meters, you just stuck really with putting the quarters in them. The new pay stations can be reprogrammed and updated depending on, again, how we want to better manage the utilization of the parking.
So, Steve Strideman, thank you, sent me a 38-page document today that kind of gives, it talks a little bit about the...
He's prepared to read that aloud to the council.
Oh, okay.
No.
And it talks about, the fee structures and how, in downtown, well, in other parts of the city, not only downtown, and this is actually talking about in Los Angeles and other parts of California, where in downtown it's a certain rate, but I think we had already discussed this in other parts of the city where there's less utilized, the rates might be lower, so that, you end up not having parking spaces that lay empty because the rate is too high, or you don't have parking spaces that are continuously are used because the rate is too low. So to come up with a rate that just makes sense depending on where, where it's located in the city. So I don't know if we're prepared today to actually talk about putting a cap on it, or what that number should be.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
No clue in terms of what that cap should be, but in terms of the concept of the cap, Vince, what are your thoughts? Mary, Peggy, turn this way, but what are your thoughts in terms of just implementing a cap versus relinquishing that responsibility completely, or requiring a call for public hearing every time we want to change it by a nickel, right? I mean, There's got to be a
Yeah.
balance in there, so what are your thoughts?
Well, I think trying to call for a public hearing every time we want to change the rate would be cumbersome. That would be difficult. But in terms of setting a cap, that to me is something reasonable, once we find out what, what that really should look like. So I would be comfortable with something like that.
I mean, we can't have a, meeting every time we have to change the rates if there's an event going on, I'm sure.
Right, I mean, we could have a non-event rate cap of X, and then an
Right.
event rate cap of X, right? Something of that concept.
Maybe I should differentiate that. One would be the hourly rate, so you're charging, 25 cents for 15 minutes, half an hour, whatever it may be, and then it would be the flat rate for an event, so somebody comes in, they pay $2, they pay $5,
They get that block of time.
yeah, and so they park there all night, or all day, it could be, again, on weekends, but then there would be the daily rate. Council wants to say you want a maximum amount per hour. That would, again, this, what I'll use is some of the spots by City Hall and the Post Office have the greatest value for people that are in there the shorter term. And we probably want to price those a little bit higher. It's how it's structured now. And those on not Terrace and other places that are farther back are set for lower rates. But again, they're on the mechanical meters that have to be either recalibrated or actually just replaced. So it's
Right. So, I mean, I think in terms of the actual cap, I mean, the mayor was looking to have, him to determine the rates,
Right.
which I think
Fine.
we'd look for input from him, right? I mean,
and that evolved somewhere between the council and the law department. I was looking to have the police chief and commissioner of finance do the rates.
Oh,
right.
I thought the legislation.
Well, I mean, maybe,
I know it.
if, I guess
That's
if we,
you're my designee, and so I
Oh, okay, you're
have
trying to,
gotten some compliments for that and some criticism for it. But
yeah,
it was really, you're looking to manage it, so you look at the utilization,
right.
and things change over time. We've seen a lot of development over the last few years. We're going to complete Erie Boulevard in the next few months, so that again will change some of the traffic patterns as we start to focus going in a westerly direction on State Street from Erie Boulevard down to the community college. We look to buy more of the pay stations, put them in place. But, how do you have part of that flexibility to just manage the parking resources of the city?
I mean, I think if we all agree on having that process, right, where we set the cap, and then the mayor as a designee would then determine daily with, the micromanaging of it, so to speak. We'd look to, I would think we'd want to look to the mayor to say, all right, make a recommendation where you think this cap should be. We evaluate it, we say, that seems reasonable, or no, it's not reasonable, right? And we could adjust accordingly, but, you or your designee has a better idea of where those rates should be. I mean, should it be 25 cents, should it be $5 for an event?
And the other thing is with the mechanical meters, you have kind of implied empirical data of utilization. With the pay stations, we are going to have a lot more statistical data that you can better analyze the utilization. So we go around and pick up the quarters now. We think they're all coming out of this meter here, but in fact, it might be the meter over on the other side.
Right, because they're just making a loop.
Right.
And collecting, so it's dollar amount through that set of meters, yeah. So, all right. Conceptually, I think we like it.
Yeah, okay,
All right.
thank you.
Problem here.
So has the council decided on that or not? Because as we get the pay stations in, I don't want to have to reprogram them based on,
Well, I thought
It was 38 cents.
and how close are we to that?
they're on order, they're doing the engineering. Chief, do you know?
No, not off the top of my head. I'm not sure. It should be in October.
Sometime in October,
So,
Oh, wow.
say we're looking at a month.
All right, so
we,
I guess we need to vote on that legislation. Right? Let's say that the council would set the cap and for various categories, right? Is that what we're looking for? We're looking to pass legislation on rates, and the rate, instead of being a fixed rate, would be a cap, no higher than.
right.
So that we need to change and vote on setting the cap, and then we vote on what the cap would be, right?
What we passed was an ordinance, wasn't it?
Pardon?
What we passed was an ordinance, wasn't it? For the kiosks and everything? Do you recall?
Would have to check, but I don't believe anything regarding the rates was
No.
done at
No.
that time.
There was nothing concerning the rates in the former?
No, I think,
No.
I think we voted to buy the equipment, but then we
Because of this
tabled-
discussion.
Then we tabled the decision of how and who would set the rates.
Right.
And so we need to finish the legislative side of how and who would set the rates. And then we need to determine the rates, right? So I think we just kind of informally decided here that letting the manager or the designee manage it on a day-to-day, road-to-road basis, and the council would just set caps. So we need to put that procedure into place, and then get a recommendation from the administration of what kind of ranges they were thinking about charging, and then we can vote to approve the caps. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a hard debate here. I think we're just looking to retain that amount of, that responsibility, but kind of, go along with what works best, so. My personal thoughts.
I'm still not confused, but it's not clear in terms of what the goal is going to be. Are you going to want to be able to set a cap by resolution as needed? Or are you going to want to make because what you have been doing is with fees and so on, you've been setting it up so that there is a fee, and then the amount of fee is determined from time to time by resolution. There have been a number of things that's recently how you've been handling it.
Yeah.
And so are you saying that you want to be able, from time to time, pass a resolution to establish caps for within which the mayor and/or his designee may exercise discretion?
Yeah, I think so.
And you want to do that now without setting a cap?
Well, we could set the cap at the same time, but, I mean, which could be changed, right? I mean, 20 years from now, I think that cap might
Okay.
change, but,
I want to check, although I'm in and out of it on a daily basis, I don't have the whole thing memorized. I want to see what's in the city code right now with respect to it, and if you're going to need to pass a resolution to do it, you could pass that next week. If you're going to need to pass an ordinance to do it, then we have to call for a public hearing. So
You'll need an ordinance.
that's what I
The
thought.
last raise in parking rates was in 2010, and it was an ordinance.
It was an
And
ordinance.
it came from Assistant Chief Siebert.
Okay, so then we're, okay, so what you should do tonight is call for a public hearing to, again, my understanding of what you're discussing right now is we're going to change the code so that from time to time, you as a body will be able to set a cap within which the mayor or his designee
can operate.
Hmm?
Can operate, sorry, finish.
Right, but no, can exercise his or her discretion.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Then what we're going to be doing tonight is calling for a public hearing.
But we can't because we don't have 3 people on the committee.
Oh,
We don't have 2 people on the committee. So we may have to hold
You have to
this.
wait for
for-
Denise to come.
Yeah,
Recess.
well, that's true.
Council President, anyone serves as the council president's prerogative, you could appoint somebody else to the committee.
All right. All right. Ms. Porterfield, would you like to be on the committee for the evening?
so we're going to call for a public hearing.
Then you have to remove her tomorrow.
Okay.
Or removed.
Yeah.
All right, so you called for a public hearing, were you going to vote on it, or, so you moved to call for a public hearing?
Yes.
Is there a second? I second it. All in favor? Aye.
The council had done the public hearing.
We did the public hearing actually on June 24th, but that was actually on buying the meters themselves.
Do we need a public hearing to buy the meter?
I'm pretty, that's what,
No, we wouldn't
what was
need-
the meeting, what was the public hearing on June 24th?
just.
We'd have to check, but it certainly wasn't on this, because this was not
Yeah.
proposed.
Because I know there was discussion of the rates, right? I think there was probably an article in the paper, there was people, talking about it, and sending emails on it, so we may have had the public hearing, it's a good point, I don't recall.
Well, we did, and then it didn't make it out of committee, and then the following cycle probably, right?
Right.
So that's my guess, anyhow.
I will
Well,
check.
let's see what the public hearing was on June 24th.
So if we don't need one, we just won't go on it next week, so.
Right.
Alright. So if we need a public hearing, we've got it.
But if we don't,
You won't. Okay.
All right.
No, you're off the committee.
Oh.
Denise is
Well,
coming
she
up
has
before.
to adjourn the meeting, so
All right.
she can stay on the committee until
So
it's adjourned.
is there a motion to adjourn? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
All right. Mrs.
Just in
Brucker?
time.
Just in time.
We can start public safety.
Oh, perfect. All right, I'll call to order public safety. First thing is the membership of the Citizen Review Police Board.
Yeah, just again, we had met a while back, we need to make a couple more appointments there, and I just didn't know whether anybody's been able to reach out to any of the groups that need to be represented to get possible names.
I think, because I got an email from a lady, Pamela LeBrake, she said she turned in her resume.
Right. But
The process is you have to be nominated by one of the
Right.
groups.
And it goes to the mayor first.
yeah,
Okay, so, well, she's interested anyhow, so.
yeah.
You know, I had been in contact with her a while ago
Yeah.
and told her about the process, so I don't know if she reached out to any organizations to find out.
do we know which groups do not have representation at this moment? Which ones are, don't have people
We had a
showing up?
list, and I'm not sure what I did with mine.
'Cause-
But
We do
can-
know, just not sure we know right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, if we took a look at that
Well, we get
and
a
reach
list,
out and
yeah.
get
Okay.
I'll
whoever's
let
head
her
of those
know anyhow who
groups.
she
Sure.
has to reach out to.
Yeah.
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 So you
Okay.
can take care of that?
Yep, I'll find the list.
Okay.
You got one more
Yeah, I have
question?
one more question. The other part of it is as Helga specifically comes to the podium quite regularly to say that they're lacking a quorum. So are some of the groups that are represented there, do they have someone who's attending on a regular basis? I think it's something we should take a look at as well. Or if we need to have another person appointed so that they can have their meetings and pass some of the cases out. So,
Okay, I can check on that, too.
okay.
Anything else? Any other part of this discussion? All right, I'm going to move on to the Homeland Security Grant Program. Would you-
Afternoon. This is excuse me, get a little sore throat here. Homeland Security Grant. This one's a little bit different than we normally come to the council with. This is to replace it's called monopole, basically our radio tower at the police headquarters. This is kind of part one of a two-part grant that we hope to secure over the next 6 months or so. This one is for $239,000. Pole, actually, the monopole is original, I believe, is 40 years old since the station was built. Is in need of repair. A lot of people won't even climb it. Long story short is through interoperability grants through Homeland Security. There's only coming up by the end of the year. We're working with the county on to secure all the money for the monopole, which is about approximately $620,000. Again, we're working with the county on the second piece of this. This would be the first piece. If for any reason that fell through, we would actually come back to City Council. We would be able to reappropriate the money on other interoperability type of needs if be. So.
Now, does this piece of equipment work with the dispatch?
Yeah, it's a radio tower. Basically what we have right now, we have a 165-foot radio tower. It's called monopole at the police headquarters. And it's line of sight with other poles in the city, county, and it's all part of relays. That's about as technical as I can get. But it's I believe 40 years old or pushing 40 anyway. And with the new UCC, the Unified Communication Center, this will be extended to 185 feet and then have better line of sight for the other poles and just basically enhances our communication operations.
So if in fact the communications place was placed somewhere else other than the city of Schenectady, perhaps the site that they're looking at in Rotterdam, would it reach there?
They already started the site, so it has been approved and actually broke ground and everything else. So yes, it
Okay.
does. It does. It's part of the whole bigger system. There's other poles that have to be replaced, other microwaves and so forth that we've secured some money for. And over time, again, this is the federal government through the state is putting a lot of money into this. There's no match or anything by the city of Schenectady for these grants that are coming up. There's a bigger piece that we're trying to attach to this one through the county, that the application, I believe, is due early October, middle October, that we're working with.
So is this a competitive grant, or is it pretty much an entitlement?
It's competitive. Right now, it's a $75 million grant for the state for interoperability, but it's only counties can, this new grant, not this grant that we're doing.
Yes.
This new grant. Only counties can apply for it. With that said, there's only counties that have not received a portion of this grant before, earlier grants, I should say. And so there's like 20-some counties that are eligible to receive the $75 million, so the pie's going to be split that way. I believe we can ask for up to $6 million. It's all interoperability. So it's not only City of Schenectady Police Department, but the ones within the county that they'll be asking for, and infrastructure. Again, the monopole system is more part of the infrastructure. And hopefully next time we have to replace it, I won't be standing here.
Okay.
Because it's 40 years old.
So you're looking for a resolution to?
Accept this money.
Accept the grant.
Oh, accept the money.
Just accept the $239,000.
Okay.
This is the first piece of the $620,000 that we anticipate
Great.
needing. And we have 2 years to spend it, with the idea that we're not applying, but the county's applying for the second half of this
Right.
grant. We'd use this grant as
Leverage.
a portion of that $620,000. And again, hopefully get the second half.
Mr. Erickson?
You said there was 26 counties and 75 million.
Yeah.
Should we be applying for more?
I think the cap is $6 million. I think there's a cap on how much you can apply for. I believe so. Again, it's not our grant. I've had conversations with personnel from the county that,
Okay, so this is a county can go after.
We cannot as a city,
Okay.
but we're working with them on it because, we have meetings, infrastructure meetings that we deal with, and they're at the meetings. And again, it's just with the new UCC, soon to be opened up sometime early next year. It's just another step of just making our whole interoperability better. A big part of interoperability is not only with the city of Schenectady, talking to the other police departments within the city, but it's also with Albany, Rensselaer counties, all the agencies, in case something major happens, that if we have to assist and/or their system goes down, that we can pick up on each other's. It's very complex, but it's very it's great for the future.
Any other questions?
I will move that we accept this.
Okay, and I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, unless there's anything else to come before public safety, ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor? Aye, we're adjourned.
Okay, the claims. Executive session items.
Yes.
Motion on executive
So
session.
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Executive session.
All right, so if you're looking for the list of organizations,
Thank you.